Well, Pankaj Bharadwaj, sir, is a veteran, is an Indian Army veteran, and he's a senior commander and expert mariner, you can say, a master mariner, and also, an instructor, aviation instructor, equipped in his skills in both civil aviation as well as defense aviation. Commissioned into the Indian Navy on 1st January 1981 and awarded his wings in 1983, Captain Pankaj Bharadwaj is a combat veteran of Operation Pawan in Sri Lanka. I want you to clap for sir. Come on. And Operation Cactus in Maldives. He commanded a frontline operational squadron as commanding officer during the Kargil conflict, and later captained a guided missile warship. Do excuse me, sir, if I go wrong anywhere. And later captained a guided missile warship in the Arabian Sea and an anti-submarine warship in the Bay of Bengal. After taking premature retirement, he flew as senior commander with Air India, then as lead pilot in corporate aviation, a DGCA instructor examiner, type rated expert, and master mariner. He holds airline transport pilot licenses from India and the USA and is an alumnus of Anderson School of Management, UCLA. Today, he shapes future leaders as visiting faculty at D.Y. Patel University, Navi Mumbai. Sir, you are a multifaceted genius. A big thank you, sir, for coming, for joining us here at St. Vivekananda English Academy, and a huge round of applause once again, students. Now, over to you, sir, to address the students. This is what the students have been waiting for. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you very much to all of you.
Ma'am, thank you very much to all of you.
You have really humbled me so much by showering praises. If only I could merit a few of those, it would have been great. But this is very, very beautiful culture of Assam, which is what I feel very proud of having been associated with. Having said that, first of all, apologies. I'm actually operating from my mobile phone because there's power cut until 12 o'clock in this part of the region where I'm traveling. So you may not be able to see me clearly or may not be able to hear me very well, in which case, please sound and let me know that you're not able to, in case. I'll be correcting myself accordingly. Now, coming back to one of my favorite lot is right in front of us, the Gen Alpha, which is the future of our country. Every country has expectations and hopes from your lot. You are the ones who will produce amongst you the future, whether it's in judiciary or whether it's in leadership or it's in politics or whether it's in science and technology or in military. You are the leaders. You have the leaders amongst you. And that is what you need to bear in mind right from this stage onwards. That's the confidence with which you need to grow yourself. Since you all know, my basic profession has been flying as a pilot. So there's a very popular joke amongst the pilot community that, one of the child was asked in the classroom, don't keep looking out of the window, otherwise you'll reach nowhere. And when he became a pilot, when he grew up, he became a pilot and he started saying, look, I'm getting paid for looking out of the window, which is the cockpit window. So that's just in light humor. Don't take it seriously. So please don't start looking out of the window right from this moment onwards. But it is just in good humor, just to start the session. I've heard the reputation of this great establishment from so many people, from so many sources, and it makes me very proud to be a part of this meeting and this address, which is something which I could never have afforded to have said no to when it was offered. So thank you very much for inviting me over and asking me to shed some light on all these aspects. So I am not going to do a prepared talk because first of all, the presentation is not available with me since I'm operating from the mobile phone. And secondly, it'd be more engaging. Your attention will be closer to me when I talk about experiences and how you can utilize whatever little experience I have in my life and take it on from there to shape up your career in case you have this interest. The first and foremost thing, whenever we are talking about this career, anybody who approaches me and says that he wants to become a pilot, I always ask them only one question: how passionate are you about it? Although this applies to all the fields, if you want to be a doctor, even then you need to be passionate about it. But particularly when you want to be in a flying machine which is defying the laws of gravity and which is defying so many principles which are existing in science, or also using those principles, but you're generally defying nature. So that's the time when your passion is what makes you successful in this particular career. So there are many youngsters, there will be many youngsters amongst you as well, but there are many young youngsters who I have come across who know a lot about aviation, and I feel very proud to interact with them when they know about airplanes, about a whole bunch of stuff, because they're extremely passionate about it. My journey also started with this passion. As a small kid, my father was posted in a border area in Punjab, and those were the days when the war clouds were looming on our heads. And that's the time when I used to watch the pilots fly the airplanes right above our head. And like ma'am said earlier, we all used to look up and look at them and always wondered if we would ever be able to find our space in that airplane. So it was kind of a self-motivation at some stage. Particularly for the military flying, you may have some notions, particularly your parents may have some notions or elders may have some notions about the risk it, offers. And that's why there may be many youngsters who really have a very big desire to fly and become a pilot, but they may not be opting for it. So that is the first part which I want to tell you, which leads to this profession. We talk about courage. We just talked about courage. So that courage is inbuilt. And that courage is always there to help you overcome your fears, especially when you're chasing a passion. So if your passion is to fly, first and foremost, you need to say to yourself that nothing is going to happen. As a matter of statistics, it's more dangerous to drive on the road than to fly in the air. So this is what you're going to tell all those people who tell you, no, flying is a risky business. Every profession comes with a risk. But first and foremost, if you are passionate about flying, I'm using that word again and again repeatedly because everything needs to be with passion. So if you're passionate about flying, then you need to convince all those naysayers who are telling you that it's very risky. You tell them, you can actually, your generation is excellent in technology. You Google it, you'll be able to see the statistics yourself and you can throw it on the face of people who tell you, who are discouraging you from becoming a pilot. So you'll find that the statistics prove that there are more accidents which occur on the roads, and annually it takes more lives away than in the air accidents. In comparison to military and civil flying, military flying is more demanding. So if you're a good professional, you'll always find that, you'll get out of those situations. Particularly the military aircraft have things like ejection seats, and they have many other ways. You have parachutes, etc. So you can kick yourself out of the aircraft in case it is an emergency, which is not available to you when you're flying a commercial airplane. So this is what you have to keep in mind. First and foremost, have the courage to opt for it if you're passionate about it. So that's the beginning which I like to make, that anytime you want to opt for an aviation career, this is how your approach can be shaped. Because I'm talking from my experience when I opted for flying, even my own family, my parents, I was small, my parents did not feel very good about it. I had to really fight in a way, defy them to a certain extent, and then manage to succeed. So this is a factor which you need to keep in your mind, and that's where your inherent courage comes from. It's like what ma'am said, that if you can ask questions in a class, you have the courage to do so. Similarly, if you have a passion, you should have the courage to, prove others that you are willing to do it. And this goes not only for flying, I would say generally applicable in every field. There was a time when amongst the Indian parents, everybody wanted them to be either a doctor or an engineer. Thankfully, our generation of parents have started viewing it differently. Now we actually want our children to explore new fields, and there are so many options available today. Flying is also one of those, and flying is aviation sector in India is actually expanding at the rate which is not seen anywhere else in the world. So this region, aviation has the highest growth, which means that in case you want to become anyone in the field of aviation, be it a pilot or even a flight attendant or even any other profession which is related to aviation, you can be an engineer, aerospace engineer, you can be an aircraft engineer, you can also pick whatever ground support is companies are offering. So there's a whole bunch of options available in the field of aviation because it's growing, especially in last decade and a half or so, or maybe 2 decades. We have seen the growth of aviation like never before. And the remote regions are also now getting connected due to Rashtriya Udan policy, where smaller airfields are also coming into picture. You have hub and spoke model, which is that you pick up the passengers from smaller airfields, and you bring them over to bigger airports for connectivity. So that is called hub and spoke. Anyway, I do not want to drown you into the technicalities of this, but just remember that aviation sector is expanding and it's a very good option. If you do not want to be in the airplane, you can always become an engineer and look after the airplanes. Or there are plenty of colleges in India which are offering aerospace engineering, which is a very exciting field. And you all must be aware that in India, we are pioneers in aerospace technology in some way, the way we are launching our rockets, satellites, or even the missiles. It's an exciting field and a very good option. So you can see it in a holistic way with a larger frame of mind. And if you want to be near the airplanes, if you want to see that your passion is fulfilled, there are so many options in the aviation field, in the field of aviation itself. Having said that, now let's come back to what I have done in my life, and that is why I would like to share my experiences with you. So I joined as a military pilot because the passion was flying high performance airplanes. By high performance, what we mean is not that commercial airplanes are not high performance in some ways, each carries its own challenges. I say that with experience of having flown all types they're essentially military flying, airline flying, and general aviation. And I've done all three. I'm fortunate that I have exposure in all three. So each one has the pros and cons. But if you want to, let's say, if you have a passion to fly high performance in the sense that the combat planes, then military is the only option. You can join the Air Force or even naval aviation, and even Army has the aviation branch wing. But for joining the naval aviation and Army, you have to first do your general admission into the Navy or Army, and thereafter opt for this aviation branch. But in Air Force, you go directly into your flying branch. This is the only difference, which means that you start training to become a pilot slightly early in the Air Force. But each one has its own pros and cons. Each branch carries its own pluses and minuses, and that is what you need to be clear about. And I'm going to probably touch upon some of those if it helps you. So you all can hear me? I mean, I just wanted to know that you can hear me. I'm audible because the fan is on and I can switch it off. There's no issue about the students can hear me, right? Okay, that's what I just wanted to recheck. So you can join any of the armed forces through National Defense Academy exam, and this is when you're in 12th. Now, just remember, all these exams are, all these competitive exams are conducted by UPSC. Just like the one which conducts the same exams for civil services, they also conduct the exam for armed forces. It's on a parallel pattern. So for the National Defense Academy, you write the exam, and thereafter there's a service selection board interview, and then a medical, and you can join. And this is the officers' entry I'm talking about. And then you can join National Defense Academy, where you spend 3 years, you do your graduation, it's all paid for, and then you can, in NDA, National Defense Academy, short form is NDA, it's in Kharagwasla near Pune. They give you an option to join National Defense Academy for Army, Navy, or Air Force, either of the three branches. As you know, military has these three major branches. So you can opt for it and then accordingly proceed. After 3 years, you join that particular service which you have opted for. For example, if I have opted for Navy, after 3 years in National Defense Academy, I'll join Navy and train there for 1 more year before I get my President's commission. The commission, when you become an officer, it's called, you're commissioning an officer. So the officers are called commissioned officers. And it is directly bestowed upon you by the President. So it's called President's Commission. That's the technical small little word. So when you become an officer and thereafter you do your, options, you can actually in Navy opt for aviation. In Army also, you can opt for aviation. Army has its own Army Aviation Corps. And if you're in Air Force, then after National Defense Academy, you land up in Air Force Academy, which is located in Hyderabad. You can finish your training there for a year. It's split between 2 locations near Hyderabad. And once you finish that training, you get your squadrons in the Air Force and you do further on-type training with whichever airplane you have to fly. Aviation demands considerable amount of training and you have to be constantly in touch with your books. That is one thing. In case those of you think that, if you become a pilot, you stop studying, that's not true. Many of us get that rude shock when they become a pilot that, oh, you have to constantly upgrade yourself in technology as well as to make sure that you are something called recurrent. You remain every year, you have to go through flying tests as well as the ground school so that you remain fresh. In aviation, we do not believe in taking chances. So we make sure that we grill enough um, education or enough of the experience or enough of the on-type knowledge, the specialized vertical knowledge into the mind of a pilot so that even in their sleep, if somebody asks them, okay, here's one emergency, they should be able to rattle it down. So basically, that's the criteria that even if you're sleeping and if somebody says, hey, listen, we have an engine failure, for example, as a emergency, so he can rattle it out even in his sleep. I mean, that's the level of training which is aimed to be imparted to a pilot. And our Indian school of training it follows slightly different pattern because we are very traditional. We are an old, ancient civilization. We used to follow Gurukul system, and we still have some of it left in our mind, despite the fact that a lot has changed. But in aviation, that holds good because whenever you're training to fly, you're also, whenever I trained my students to fly, I always had to train them to face the most extreme emergency. And that most extreme emergency will create pressure in the mind. And when that pressure comes, I need to see that they are able to handle the pressure. This is the underlying theme of a pilot training, that you have to put them under pressure. So now that you're in school and you'll be under huge pressure when you have your board exams and all of it. So this is the time when you can get into that habit formation that, okay, the pressure is there, but you should learn to take it. You know, many students kind of give up. Don't never give up on this because it's just a phase. And if you say to yourself that you're going to do it, you'll surely do it. This is my personal experience. There are times when I also thought that, oh my God, I'm reaching a stage when I'm over the edge and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. But then I managed to say to myself, no, I think I'll be able to do it. And that is the strong will and your own ability to withstand that pressure, which will begin from now itself. So please never give up. And even if, like ma'am said, even if there is a small failure in life, it's not end of everything. You learn from one failure, move to the next, and you eventually become someone who knows how to handle life and professions way better than those who never face the failure. Remember, failure is there to teach you. So if there is, you must take the pressure, you must give it your best shot so that you can do well. But at the same time, God forbidding, if there is any time when you face a challenge, when you think that you're not achieve what you wanted to in your own yardstick, that's not, it should not dishearten you because this is leading way to something which you'll not be able to foresee now. Remember, academics are very important at this stage, but at the same time, if every individual has different potential, some of them are academically very brilliant, some of them are practically very brilliant. So why this effort is being taken by your school now and why I'm talking to you is because your teachers, your gurus, they want to harness your potential, whichever field you have, the strength. They want to identify and they want to harness it. They want to make sure that you use it for your best, course of action, for your betterment in life. And that is the reason why we are talking to each other. Because some of you will have potential to become good pilots, whether military or commercial, or some of you may become good engineers and join the uh, aviation, or some of you may become very good managers and join the airlines as managers, or you can be flight stewards and stewardesses. So this is just basically a process to identify your strengths. And remember, each strength is lying within you, and now your gurus are trying to give you options. So you have to match your own strength with whatever option you have. And that is what makes it good. But there are a few basic traits which will always hold you in good stead. And those, like ma'am also just sometime back in the introductory speech talked about it. So, like we said, the courage, we should never ever feel lack of courage, the discouragement. There are situations in life when you will feel that, okay, you're losing heart because you want to do something or say something, but you're not able to do. So that is where your inner courage, inner strength will come to your rescue. And this is a very important trait in aviation as well, because there are situations when you're under huge pressure, and some people may have the tendency to switch off under pressure, and some people have the tendency to open up and look for more avenues under pressure. So try to be the second kind. Even now, whenever you are under pressure, just try to see what all options are existing in front of you. And the situation, even when your teachers are sometimes trying to be hard on you, basically just remember, nobody holds a personal grudge. It's because this is how you will learn to hold pressure. They're putting you under pressure in a situation because they're preparing you for future. This is the best phase in life when you're a student. I mean, when I look back upon it, I feel that my best phase in life was when I was a student. And because there was very little responsibilities, you could focus. At the same time, you had so much fun. There's so many options available. Uh, Once you're into the field of profession, usually uh, the tolerance levels are less of those who are demanding things out of you. Similarly, in aviation, the aviation airplane tolerance levels are less. So you have to make sure that you're following all the parameters, and you're making sure that you're using correct technique, correct lessons which are given in the book, so that you're safe. Because in an airplane, it's not like a car. If a engine switches off on a road, the car will stall and then just you can park. No harm will be done to the life. But in an airplane, if the engine, for example, just to give you a small example, if the engine goes offline, if it shuts down for some due to some reason, technical reason, emergency, anything, the airplane will just fall out of sky. So you have to make sure that it doesn't fall out of sky, even if when the engine is not there. And how do you handle it? That is what is you're trained for. And trust me, as an instructor, if I ever thought that my student won't be able to handle a particular emergency and save lives of his own as well as of his other passengers, I would never clear him to fly, and I'll add more training to his curriculum so that we bring him up to that standard and we make him worthy and good enough to handle an emergency, handle the pressure of flying, handle a situation which can be a very new situation which you may not have even anticipated. And that is what is preparing you for a future in aviation. Now, this process can even begin early. Right now, when you're growing up, you can continue to learn the situations in whichever you face. Those can be personal situations, those can be situations related to your, lessons, your syllabus, exams, sports, any field. It can be, but the mantra is never give up. And this is what you all need to bear in mind, even if you say that this is what I'm talking to you as a pilot, as your underlying lesson for the today. Never give up. This will be very handy if those of you who want to opt for aviation, because in aviation there are situations during training time when you will think that you are not going to make it, because flying, learning to fly is a challenge. I'm not saying that to discourage you all, because everybody can, there'll be enough training given to understand. But if you give up during the training, then it'll be not in your favor to become a pilot. So coming back to this was kind of something which I casually talked to you about. But coming back to flying, um, there is no, I've said this many times to all those who ask me this question, that if you were to take a rebirth and want to do it all over again, live your life all over again, what would you like to do? And I told them, I'll still like to be what I've already done in this life. Because this is the kind of a closeness and fondness and liking to the profession that I have, which is basically the business of flying. Whenever you're doing this, there's a word called job satisfaction. So after most of us, um, some of us are fortunate to find a job of our choosing. There are some who have been right from the childhood, they want to become doctors, and they've been trying to become doctors. And when they become doctors, that is the field of their choosing, and they are probably the best doctors because that's their passion. Similarly, if some people want to join military and become an army officer, or you know play out a battle, they want to be in battlefield. They are, again, that passion is what keeps them as the best in the cadre. They become the best military officers. Likewise, if you have the passion to fly and subtract, you do not look at the glam which comes with it. Most of us look at the flying with a bit of a glamour, with stars in our eyes. Okay, it's a nice profession, but trust me, it's equally or more challenging than any other profession. If you go to an engineering school, you have to face the challenge of studies there. Similarly, medical school. And in aviation, again, the aviation academy, they make sure that they grill you enough and they bring you up. So coming back to the option like I was talking about, so you can go to National Defense Academy and opt for aviation. But in addition, there are also direct entry exam from UPSC. So you have to write that written test followed by Service Selection Board, and then you can go to either Air Force Administrative College, it's called AFAC, or you can go to Naval Academy. Naval Academy is very well established, by the way. It's in the border of Kerala and Karnataka. It's a beautiful place. So that is it's considered one of the best naval academies in the world today. So the place is called Erimala, difficult for you to pronounce. It's near Cananore. I'm so sorry. Apologies. Okay. Like I said, I was operating out of my phone, so you'll have to bear with it. Other um, uh, if you join army, then they send you to Indian Military Academy after you clear your UPSC exam and then the Service Selection Board, which is similar to the National Defense Academy, and then the medical. So these three processes are given: a written exam followed by an interview, which lasts for almost 3 to 4 days. It's not just interview; they also check your psychological aspects and many other things. And your reaction to situations are tested during that interview phase, which is called Service Selection Board. And then the third part will be medical, which is if you meet the criteria, you'll be given and then they make a merit. And when you make it in the merit, you can land up in, like I said, if you've not gone for National Defense Academy, which is after 10, it's +2, and you can write the exam of NDA. But suppose if you've missed that or you do not want to do that, then you can join after your graduation, write the UPSC exam, write the Service Selection Board interview, do that, and then medical. So these three steps are a part of any entry into the armed forces. So those in army, after graduation, they join Indian Military Academy and they do another 1 year training in Indian Military Academy, which is a very prestigious institute. And those who join Navy, they go to Naval Academy, which I just spoke about. And those who opt for Air Force, they go to Air Force Administrative College. So you have all the options. You can be an Army pilot, you can be a Navy pilot, and you can be an Air Force pilot. I must tell you the difference because nobody told me this difference when I was opting for the aviation. in the military. So the challenges in Air Force is, they are the ones who fly in an environment where you have hills like around Arunachal, Assam, Nagaland, and also Kashmir, the entire Himalayas. So they have those challenges where air is thin and they have to meet the criteria. They also have airplanes, a larger set of airplanes which are combat airplanes, which take part in, which can do, um, they need more physical ability in the sense that you pull something called G forces. You wear a G suit, your blood rushes out. So those kind of things, and you need quick reactions. So they also have that very nice inventory of those airplanes. So you have an option to fly those planes, which are called fighter airplanes. Okay, those smaller jets, which are fast-moving jets, you can fly that. That's excellent. And then, of course, in Air Force, you can also fly big planes, and you can also fly helicopters. These are the options available in Air Force. In Navy, so that's a challenge in the Air Force. In Navy, we have the challenge of flying from the ship. So now imagine that your runway is now the size of a football field or smaller. Okay. So the same airplane which is landing on a long runway, say about 3 kilometers long runway, now you have to land that on a football field. So that's the challenge. So they have, and if you're landing a helicopter on a move, and this platform, that football field is moving because it's a ship we are talking about. You're landing on a ship and taking off from a ship. So that ship is moving all the time, and you're landing on a moving platform, a moving football field. You can well imagine the challenge yourself that you're actually coming in. So your scope of error is very limited. Otherwise, so from that point of view, just to quote Neil Armstrong, you all know who was Neil Armstrong, I guess, the the first guy who stepped on the moon, who was an American astronaut. Okay, so he was the first guy who took up. All of you can look up, Google his story. He was the first man on the moon, and that famous line, "A small step on moon, but a giant leap for mankind." It's a very well-known quote in our generation, where we say a small step for man, but a very giant step for mankind. That was the quote. A small step for man, but a giant step for mankind. That's what was said when he walked on the moon, on the surface of the moon. He was the first man to do it, or first person to do it. So he was a Navy pilot. And when he was interviewed, they asked him, so how was your experience? How big a challenge was it to, land on moon? And he said, not as big a challenge as landing on an aircraft carrier, on a ship. So you can well imagine that here is an astronaut with experience, was handpicked as being the best amongst the fraternity, and he's landing on moon, and he says that like moon was not as tough as landing on a ship. Okay, so that's the challenge in Navy. Even if you're flying helicopters, you're actually landing on a very small space on a moving ship. And remember, these moving ships are uh, moving in all three dimensions, because the ship moves in three dimensions. It can pitch, like its nose goes down and up. It can roll, it goes on the sideways, it can yaw. So you have to make sure that you're, controlling all those whilst landing. So you're correcting for all those things. And similarly, if you're flying big planes of the Navy, those planes are submarine hunters, and they also carry missiles, and they are the combat planes again. Any airplane which carries ordnance and missiles and guns and bombs, we put it in combat category because they're fighting war field. That's how Navy sees it. So if they're flying, they're also flying over the sea, where you have no references, and they're flying very low, and that's another challenge. So all these are the challenges when you're flying in Navy, and I'm probably speaking more about Navy because I've been a naval pilot myself. And the Army aviation, again, they have mostly helicopters, and they fly to support army in very challenging situations like Siachen Glacier. If you've heard about Siachen Glaciers, it's a glacier in Kashmir region. It's the highest operational battlefield in the world. You won't know this, and we Indians, most of us do not know this, that we are fighting a battle in the highest operational airfield in the world, or in the highest battlefield in the world. We have our own soldiers there. They're constantly at vigil, and it's a very big challenge. Even some of the great nations are unable to do it, but we are doing it, and that's what we should be proud of, because these are the facts which are not very well known, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. So Siachen Glacier, uh, uh, the record of highest helicopter flying was set in India, in Himalayas, and Siachen Glacier also carries a constant record on the same line. Okay, so this is what is the challenge of aviation. Now, this is all about military flying that I've spoken about so far. You have options to go for it. The medical for flying is slightly higher standard than the medical for other services in armed forces. The reason being that you face the G forces. G forces are gravitational forces which, because of your flying, I do not want to get into too much of technical detail, but I think all of you, particularly the science students, would know that Earth pulls you with one G, one unit of gravitational pull, our gravitational force. That's why we are sticking to the surface of Earth. But when you're flying, it can increase multiple times. It can be 5G, 7G. So you wear a special suit. You must have seen those pilots wearing a green color suit. They have air pockets so that the blood does not rush out of your head. So when imagine if the Earth is pulling us now with 1G. Imagine if that becomes 7 times. What will happen to all the entire body will be very heavy. Will be 7 times heavier. Science students must have read this, that moon's gravitational pull is less than Earth's. So that's why you can jump much higher. So if you ever watch a film about man on in space or landing on moon, they kind of jump instead of walking. You would have seen them hopping like kangaroos. That's because the gravitational pull is lesser. So you have to make sure that you stick to the surface of the moon. Similarly, Earth is pulling you at 1G, but if you're flying, it can turn multiple times, 5G, 7G, depending on what maneuver you're doing in the airplane. And that maneuver makes you 7 times heavier, and you're being pulled towards the earth with 7 times extra pull. What happens to the blood? The blood will flow out of the head and go to the rest of the parts. So to make sure that it does not happen, because you'll black out otherwise, it does not happen, they make you wear a special suit, which is called a G suit. It's a overall, flying overall, and it has air pockets. So it senses the G forces, and it puts pressure in those pockets by using air, so that your blood stays in the upper part of body. Wherever it is, it stays there. And that is called a G suit. Just to give you a very small technical information, hopefully you'll read more on it in those who are interested in finding out. Okay, you have the internet available to you. So that is the challenge in aviation, which is what we talk about. So Air Force, Army, and Navy gives you options. Each one is very challenging. Each flying is very challenging in its own way. Now, in case you do not wish to be in military. Now, military today, armed forces are also paying you well in perks as well. So if you think that, some people think that commercial aviation pays you better, then uh, you can you should remember that even armed forces are looking after you very well. Okay. Today, the situation is much better. Uh, at the same time, for commercial, if flying, the training challenges can be controlled more easily. because when you opt for military flying, the success rate is slightly less in the sense that if 10 people decide to become a pilot, there'll be about 5 to 7 people will actually become pilots. The screening and all that takes place, the aptitude tests and the various things. But it is not to discourage you. If you are focused on it and if you have passion, you will make it. So just remember this particular word, passion, in this case, because you'll already know a lot about aviation before you even step into all those entry level tests. Okay. Are you guys getting bored? I hope you're not getting bored. I'll not be able to receive their response, but I hope they're not. Okay. All right. So now coming to the commercial aviation. I'll be giving you time to ask questions, which I'll hear through ma'am because I can't hear you. I can't see you at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll have a question and answer session so that whatever curiosity you have in your mind, please clarify that. Okay, now coming to the commercial flying. So there are flying schools or flying clubs, as we call them. And many of those are opened in India itself. Some people go abroad and do it. Indian training is also as good. You have to do your minimum criteria of flying, and then you get your commercial pilot license. So you need to do 200 hours of flying and also write your written exams. Uh, you'll get to know, you go to site and you'll get to know what all exams you have to do to become a pilot. Once you do that, then the challenge here is that you need to find the right job. Sometimes the commercial aviation has its own highs and lows. Sometimes the jobs are easy to get and sometimes you do not find them. So there are phases in commercial aviation. So the challenge remains that you need to keep current in your license, which means that you need to make sure that you are doing a little bit of flying even at your own expense if you're not in a job to make sure that your license is current. Okay. There are different criteria for it. Again, that's a technical detail. If any one of you wants to know individually, you're most welcome to contact. So commercial flying is also interesting. In flying schools, they give you a smaller plane to fly and then a twin engine plane, and thereafter you write exams. They train you in the ground school to write those exams, and then you can, you know, get your license. There's another program which is called cadet training program. First of all, the cost of commercial flying is a little high in flying school. But at the same time, there's another program called cadet training program. Different airlines offer it. I think presently Indigo has that program going on. But those are expensive programs again, more expensive programs. The flying training itself is expensive, but cadet training program is even more expensive. But they assure you a job because then they absorb you in their own airline. That will be an advantage. So depending on the affordability or again your passion, how you can convince yourself about it. Nowadays there are plenty of education loans available. Those options are there. So if you want to join a cadet training program or a flying school, you can choose that. Okay. Different flying schools have different offers. So the cost varies between the flying schools. Some of the students like to go abroad to US, New Zealand, Philippines, etc. for their flying. The US is a popular destination, so you can consider that as well. There are plenty of schools in US as well. They give you very good offers, but there are some who may even con you into their school. So be careful when you're selecting a flying school, particularly abroad, because there are we are humans after all. Some people may try to take advantage. So this is about commercial flying, and thereafter, once you join the flying, whichever airplane you are selected to fly, you have to train on that. That is usually done by the company itself, whichever company you join. Airlines have a very systematic process of training. I've been a chief of training in my organization, so I can give you all details. So you train on simulator. Before that is ground school. then simulator, and then actual flying. So you do all those tests and then you start flying. You get released as a pilot. Okay, for that particular airplane. So this is where it goes. But the basics of the basic gain in aviation is actually that you become a very good leader. And that is also a gain in military. So here, the leadership traits are enhanced. All of us have leadership traits. Some do not, some are not able to display it, and some are able to display it. But in aviation, you have no choice. You have to use your leadership traits to become a successful pilot. That is where it, boils down to. That to become a successful pilot, you need to have the leadership traits, and the schools will make sure that they bring it out of you. So if the situation demands, and they will make sure that it comes out of it. Now, again, ma'am mentioned something called limits. We generate a barrier of limits around us, right? That's how we grow up, and that limit is mostly found only in our mind. Just remember, this is a very important part. That limit is only in your mind. The moment you open your mind and you say, okay, this is not the limit for me, you can become the best in that category. One part. So, to give you an example of that, you must have heard of somebody. I think they are nowadays also they're making a movie or a serial on TV, something like that. I'm not too sure about it. So, there was a young man called Nirmaljeet Singh Sekhar. I don't know if you've heard of his name, flying officer Nirmaljeet Singh Sekhar. He was a youngster, young pilot, very passionate. And he was flying an airplane called NAT, which is now called Ajit. Basically, Ajit, it was an Indian-made airplane based on British design. He was in Srinagar airfield. He was on a operational readiness platform, ORP duties. Now, just to explain to you what is ORP, when you think that war is imminent, is going to take place, and some enemy airplanes will bomb you or your town, or they'll bomb your people. So you always keep next to the runway. There's a location. If you flown to any of the Air Force airfields, you'll see that as you land in your commercial airplane, you'll find some positions which are near the airfield, hangars. So these airplanes are parked there. They're ready at 2 minutes notice. In 2 minutes, they have to start getting airborne. And this is called operational readiness platform. During some situations, we keep them ready. So he was on ORP duties as a pilot in his airplane. Two of them generally are kept together. And they got attacked. Srinagar airfield got attacked by our friendly neighborhood fighters called Sabre jets. Those are American planes given to Pakistan. And they sent them over as a surprise to bomb. There were 6 of those airplanes. They decided to bomb Srinagar airfield because they wanted to cut off Kashmir from India. I think you live in Assam, so the biggest challenge for the Indian military is that we have 2 small corridors. One is leading to Kashmir, and the other is leading to Northeast, all the 7 states of Northeast. That is called Siliguri corridor. So the focus of military is to make sure that nobody, cuts you off, because our most dear lot lives in Northeast. So we want to make sure. That's why you see a whole bunch of military installations and a whole bunch which is existing in Northeast, all over Assam, Arunachal, Meghalaya, all those states. And obviously, our neighborhood in that area also wants to make sure that they want to destabilize that region and try to take over that region in whichever way they want. So we make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay. So the Sabre jets were trying to attack Srinagar so that that region gets cut off. And when they were doing so, usually when the airfield is under attack, you protect your assets. It's like if God forbids, if a house is being bombed, what will everybody do? They'll all go and take shelter so that they don't get damaged. So that is also the philosophy in an airfield, that if the airfield is under attack, the airplanes do not display themselves, they stay in anger. Nirmalji Singh disregarded that. He did not listen because this airplane had a limit. You cannot fire below 200 feet. If you fire, the airplane can crash. But Nirmaljit Singh Sekho took off. Flying officer Nirmaljit Singh Sekho took off from Srinagar airfield because he wanted to kill those enemy planes. And even from low height, he had so much of passion to protect his motherland. He took aim, he shot. Saberjet was a far more superior airplane, it was an American airplane. And Nirmaljit Singh was flying Indian airplane, Indian-made airplane. At that time, we did not have that much of technology. This was incident of 1971 war. In 1971, Pakistan had attacked us. And that is the war which we are talking about. And then Bangladesh was formed. Bangladesh owes its existence to India. It was India which helped them, when they were undergoing torture by Pakistan army. We were the ones who protected them from that torture. And Bangladeshis came to India, took shelter as refugees and all that stuff. Okay, if you Google it, you'll be able to hear it. But I'm only talking about one particular incident, which was Nirmaljit Singh Sekhon doing it. So from the low height, he shot at the Pakistani saber jets. He shot 2 of them down, and 4 of them ran away because they had no idea that there's one small airplane which is shooting at them. They thought there were many airplanes which are attacking them. They ran away, and he protected Srinagar airfield in that course because he was breaking limits. But with breaking the limits, he could save the airfield. Okay, so this is one example that we in military say to each other, that those who break limits win the war. Okay, so in your mind, you may have some limits which are created by you yourself. I can't do this. This is too difficult. I'm sorry. I don't think I should be doing this. But as long as your purpose is upright, the purpose is good, breaking limits should be you should be ready to break limits. And that is what will give you a lot of success in every field. You see, all the inventions are a result of breaking limits. If we had thought, okay, people are dying of malaria and nobody can make, say, quinine, the medicine which is cure, but somebody broke limits and found. What did Madame Curie do? If you all learned about Madame Curie, with radium, she was breaking limits. So all of those who have done something memorable for this world, and that's how we have progressed, have always broken limits. People told them, no, you can't do this. This is not possible. Even the scientific community, the scientists themselves would have said, the established scientists would have said, no, this is not possible. But one of them proved them wrong. And that's how, world moved on and we progressed so much. And that should be there in your mind. It's a principle of military. If we do not break limits, we'll never win wars. Okay. Now, recently there was Operation Sindoor. We broke limits there also. We knew exactly how to go about it, and we succeeded so well without even a loss of life. Not a single person from combat, casualties of that nature. So you had all of this being done because you were breaking limits. Somebody told you, no, you can't make. Indian scientists must have been told, no, you can't make a nuclear bomb. But look where we are now. Somebody told them, no, you can't launch satellite in space. You know nothing. You're Indians. Somebody proved them wrong. These are the people. When technology is not being offered to you, you have to invent it yourself. And that is what Indians are doing now. Today, you see, even in our military hardware, you see we are making nuclear submarines ourselves. We're making huge, very highly advanced ships ourselves. Today, Japan says that I want to make ships in India because we have become so good at it. So these are the barriers of mind, as long as you continue to grow with the barriers of mind, you will be stagnated. But the moment you break those limits of mind, the barriers, you will be able to do things. Same way in sports as well. You know, there are a lot of, like, for example, gymnasts or your Mary Kom herself, for example, the boxer from the northeast. You know, when आपने एक बार ठान लिया, when you just decided that I'm going to do it, then there's no limit. Okay, then sky is the limit, and this is what is so true of aviation. Sky is the limit. Okay, so my suggestion to you is get out of your mental blocks or barriers, because the moment you do that, you will become very good in whichever profession you choose. And if you choose aviation, you'll definitely need to break the limits, without which it's not possible. Okay, because here we're acting against nature. You'll face bad weather, you'll face, you know, situations when temperature is very high, you'll face oceans, you're flying non-stop over oceans, where in case of an emergency you have very limited options, you have to land on water. So these are the situations which will come to your mind only when you've chosen to break limits. For example, I don't know if any of you have heard of miracle landing. It happened in Hudson River in New York. So there was this Captain Salzberg. He was ex-military, then he was flying for American, one of the airlines in America. We took off from one of the New York airfields, and there was a flock of birds which just went in front of him. You don't expect flock of birds. Some 1,000 birds went right in front of him, and both his engines sucked the birds. Both his engines stopped working. Now he's gliding. So he had no option but to land in the river. He landed in the river beautifully, because in his mind he had thought of breaking that limit. That okay, why not on river? Why only airfield? So he knew all the process. He had been exercising it in his mind. That okay, I'm going to someday break this limit. He did that and saved all the people. Otherwise, everybody would have got killed. Okay, we are talking about an area, New York. So these are the people. This is how you break limits. Okay. So I'm trying to give you these examples. You can read more on it. You're a internet generation. This miracle on Hudson. That's the title, and we find actual footage of the landing there. Okay. Miracle in Hudson. Hudson is the river which is surrounding New York island of Manhattan. Okay. So now coming back to the advantages, aviation gives you great. Those of you who like to travel, it gives them a great advantage and offer to travel. You can see the world like you've never seen before. Even in military also, military aviation also, you can see the world like you've never seen before. You can see India like you've never seen before. It takes you to all the places at their own expense, and they're showing you. I owe my globe trotting experience courtesy aviation. Otherwise, I would have been a what you call koop manduk, the frog in the well. But it gives you a great exposure, and it gives you exposure, and that's how you end up becoming not only just a better person but a better professional in whichever field you are. That exposure is very important. That's what your gurus are trying to impart, trying to give you that exposure by interacting with professionals from the field. Okay, so you owe it to them whenever you succeed in life, which you will, I'm sure. Okay, so this is one part. Now, so like I said, aviation makes a leader out of you. So does military. Those of you who follow the military encounters or ambushes, you see the leaders who are so young. When this guy who said, "Ye dil mange more," have you all heard about that Kargil line? "Ye dil mange more." They made a movie out of him, right? So you had Captain Vikram Batra. What was his age? Just think about it. They were all in their early 20s. They're such immense leaders. So when I was doing my MBA from this called postgraduate diploma in management from Anderson Business School in USA. So they just asked me, okay, tell me how different are military leaders. So I just told them one thing. I said, okay, you get the best of the managers from the world, maybe whichever you consider as best of the school. Let's say Harvard, just to for the sake of saying, or our Indian Institute of Management, IIMs, and you give them every facility and you tell them, okay, I want you to train 100 people under you, and we'll give you unlimited money, how many millions or whatever, and just out of them ask one person that, listen, you have to just take one bullet on your body. And I'd like to see how many leaders will be able to prepare their team to sacrifice their life. But a military leader does that. And the reason is because he leads from the front. Are we end of our session time or something? I just want to check, ma'am. I can continue. Okay. So the military leaders are in the early 20s and they lead their team and they lead from front. So when your men know that the first bullet is going to hit my boss, my leader, they know that my leader means business. He has the courage to face this situation himself first before he exposes his subordinates, his men, his soldiers to that situation. And that is what a military is all about. So they are trained very well in the academies to be leaders, and they're all young leaders, and they all have achieved so much. Defending a nation, sitting in our comfort of our homes, we don't realize its worth. But people who are there in the front line, the difficulties of that situation, that terrain, and quick decision making, your courage of conviction that you can do it. These are the inherent traits which are groomed in these military leaders, and they exist in all of us. They exist in each one of you. Only thing is you need to groom those. There are two ways to go. If these traits you groom, you become a good leader. If you kill those traits, you will probably become, not a good leader. That's how it goes. So that's my appeal to you. Try to look inwards and make sure that you do not constrain yourself by the mental barriers. If you want to do something, do it with the courage of conviction and do it correctly. Do the right thing. That's very important. You need to do the right thing. Do break the limits, but for the right cause. Do not break the limits for wrong cause. Don't say, okay, my speed limit for this road is 80 and I will do it at 100. That's not the right cause. Okay, the right cause is when you're doing it with a purpose, and the purpose is, in this case, our society, our nation. Okay, in particular case, that's what I'm saying. So I think with this, I'll leave the house open to questions. Any of the questions that you have? I hope I made some sense today, because it wasn't really a prepared talk. It was more of what I was. So I hope you'll take home a few lessons. Yes, ma'am. Over to you. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear. Yeah. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear your voice. No, ma'am.
Okay, I think that
Okay,
very.
I think
Yeah, okay.
That's okay.
Now am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
I can't hear you though. Okay, let
Yes,
me put
ma'am. I
up.
can hear you perfectly well.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you
Yeah.
absolutely
Okay.
well.
So, yeah, that was a very beautiful, insightful session, I must say. And my takeaway is it's only when you break limits you win a war. So, and that in the battlefield of life, I think that breaking limits, I think that's something, whether they want to be a pilot, they want to be in an aviation sector, wherever they want to be. As a student, it's so important that they learn to break limits instead of resigning to them. Oh, I have this problem, I have this issue, this is not working well, my home does not have a proper thing. So many things, so many aspects we raise. So therefore, the very fact that we can break limits, I take it from there. And of course, the beautiful story of flying officer Sekhon, I had read about it, but it was very nice to hear again, and the miracle landing on Hudson River. So those are beautiful takeaways. So actually, this session is because of a necessity that was put forward by some of the students. And one question that had come up was, it's very costly when they have to do that training of a commercial pilot. Okay, we do get it that when you are a military pilot, you get trained in the academy, in the institution, the army or the navy, or NDA trains you or whoever trains you. But when you are aiming to be a commercial pilot, then you have to go in with that training, right? And that comes at a considerable significant cost. So the question was, after investing so much, can we expect that we will have a good return of investment? If you could just throw some light on
This
that.
is a very important question, particularly for those who are in the quest for commercial flying. A very important question, and this is exactly what you have to weigh before you step in. I'd mentioned this, that aviation boom and recession comes in waves. Sometimes you have great demand, and sometimes you have excess of everything. At the moment, aviation is on the boom in India, but things can change depending on the situation. Like, if the um, requirement reduces or economies faces a recession, then aviation also faces a recession. For example, during COVID times, aviation was completely standstill. Likewise, it depends on the situation, but one needs to have, if you are opting for commercial aviation, you need to have an inner strength to hold the holding power, because you're able to get me. So you need to have that inner strength to hold. Sometimes you have to hold and wait for a year, 2 years. Also, sometimes you're lucky, you get your job immediately. So return on investment depends on when you start earning. But once you start earning, there's a decent salary, and you will break even pretty reasonably soon. Maybe 2 to 3 years, you can break even and recover the cost of your investment, and then you can progress better. So now that you've done this topic, I must also tell you one. Sometimes parents approach me and say, my child is academically very weak, and I don't think he can become anything else, like a doctor or an engineer or whatever they want him to be. So I want to make him a pilot. This is the worst approach, because the challenges of academics in aviation are equally high, if not more. So parents think, okay, this is a short thing. Some parents say, okay, I'll mortgage my house, take some loan, make my child pilot, and then he'll recover the cost, which is a very wrong approach. Because like I said in the beginning, if you want to be a pilot, it has to come from your passion. If you have a passion, you'll never be sitting on ground. You'll find a job for yourself. Trust me, I've seen that happen so often. A passionate individual who has become a pilot will never find himself sitting on ground. He'll always be in a job. But somebody who's been pushed into this profession because you think either by the glamour or by the greed that, okay, these people earn very well. So that is something which you should avoid. That's a temptation you should never opt for, because that is what is going to disappoint a lot of people. So if you have passion, you'll never sit on ground. And like ma'am, you rightly said that, okay, if I'm investing something of this big an amount, will, will I have an assurance of return? There can't be any assurance of return. Again, you have to time it when the aviation is on a boom and you can become a pilot. So alternate option, if you want to be a pilot, are of course military option and the cadet training option, but that is more expensive. If you ever want to make sure that there's no risk of finding job, then go for cadet training program, but those are more expensive. So one has to have a deeper pocket to get into that. So this is in short what I can say, because uh, one can't be sure of a job after investing. But if you're going there because you love flying, you'll find a job, one way or the other. Generally, pilots do not sit for too long on ground, especially as experienced pilots are always in demand. But to get that experience is the process. So if you're experienced pilot, there'll be people lapping you up. But if you're not experienced, to get into the, that to break the ceiling is what is very important. I hope that answers the question now.
I'm trying to juggle between the audience
I can imagine, ma'am. I can imagine.
and the
You're the
audience.
interface.
Yeah, absolutely, it answers. And in fact, it was that query from a student of mine who unfortunately could not join today. But we have recorded the session and we intend to pass it on. And maybe if required, he can connect with you because
Absolutely, ma'am.
his parents sent him with the mandate. Please go and have a word with your principal if it is worth going. Principal doesn't know, so principal reaches out to an expert like you. Okay.
Absolutely, ma'am. There's no problem. We are there to help anytime. And anyone who wants to connect to me, please feel free to do so.
Sure. Ma'am, you have a. Yes.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am. I think, ma'am,
Yeah, repeat your question.
Yeah. So you
perfect,
have
ma'am.
a very, very busy schedule, I know, but I'm not going to ask you anything about aviation technology because my memory pockets are too full with those expressions. So many miracle landing, then G forces, maneuver, and what else did you say? G pockets. So many things. And you have shared so many career options with our students. But one thing that I wish to ask you is that, well, how do you manage your weekends with your family? Do you really visit restaurants? And do you go to shopping malls?
Ma'am, just like any other normal person, you have to do it. Those are the commitments of family. One has to do it. It's work-life balance, and it works pretty well. The work-life balance works pretty well. You can hear me? So in aviation, you get plenty of work-life balance and plenty of good options. So one should not be worried about this part of socializing. Are you able to hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Okay, then that's okay. No problem.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
We can hear. Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay.
I mean, we did not get your response actually.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just say that again.
Yeah.
So the question was that how do you spend your social time? Are you able to hear me now? Are you able to? Okay. Okay. So the question was, how do we spend our social life? Do we go out, restaurants, travel? So the answer to that is yes, very well, because there is great work-life balance in the field of aviation. You get enough time to spend with your families, and one very peculiar aspect of aviation is maybe because we are together in a field which is slightly riskier than the rest. The bonding is very strong with your buddies. So your colleagues, it's a very, very, there's, I can say, a very high spirited bond with the colleagues. Particularly in military, you have very strong bonds with your course mates. We call them course mates because we've done the course together. Your course mates bonding is very, very strong. And because you're there for each other, at one stage you may have been ready to lay your life for him, and he would be ready to lay his. Similarly, in flying, you have a guy who's protecting your wings. He's called wingman. So you must have seen aircraft in formation in a combat maneuver. So you have like three airplanes. One is the lead. Lead is a guy who's going to do the mission. Suppose if I have the mission that okay, I have to bomb the enemy territory, or I have to take out some target, enemy radar, for example. So the lead guy will have the ammunition and all that stuff for that purpose. And his buddies on the wings, they are the ones who are protecting the lead guy to make sure that the mission is accomplished. So the guys on the side are called wingmen. And they are the ones who are looking all around to make sure that, nobody else attacks the lead. So same thing goes in life. You are the lead and you have the wingmen. So your friends are your wingmen and you are a wingman to your friends. And that's why the bonding is very strong. The friendship is very strong. Yeah, I mean, till death do us apart to that extent. And that's why in military and in aviation, you will have very strong friendships. So people have gone through difficult times together and they have faced the challenges together. So it brings you close to each other very much. I hope that answers your question, ma'am. Okay. I'm sorry to put you through so much of trouble because, probably.
No, it's okay.
It
You
is.
have taken the trouble. I mean, very well know you have a busy schedule. Despite that, you have dedicated this much time for us, and we have been trying to get this session done for so much of back and forth. And my immense gratitude to you, Captain, for agreeing to spend this time with my students. It's not just about a career in aviation. Yes, aviation career looks very glamorous because you are just globe-trotting and traveling. Anybody who thinks of exploring new places and countries, I think aviation is the best option. The way you spoke about the military, when that runs common, in the in this set of people, the wonderful people who decide to be a part of this defense system of the country. And that runs very common. All of you all speak so in such a glorified way. I will speak fact about whatever our Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force stand for. And salutations to you and to each one who are there to protect us and so that we sleep peacefully in our homes. And when we got this session recorded, I just wanted this to be, on record and submitted by you. We'll put it up on the school YouTube channel if you are fine with it, so that even in the future, anytime there's a reference required, the aviation sector, they can fall back to this. If you are fine, then we'll go ahead, or we'll keep it private. So,
ma'am, first of all, thank you for giving me the privilege of addressing the future of the nation.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
Get the audio on. They should listen. Huh? I have to go on mute. Okay. Yeah.
Are they able to hear me? I hope so. Thumbs up. Okay. So, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the privilege of addressing the future of our nation. And I'm very sure you have a very brilliant set of youngsters who are there. I looked forward to this because in any way, if I can be providing a slight bit of guidance or anything of that nature, I feel very happy and very honored with that. So extending the offer, if anyone has any questions through you, ma'am, they can approach me and I'll be happy to satisfy their queries. And thank you so much. And if you would like to place it on your YouTube channel, you're most welcome. It'll be a privilege to do so. And if it benefits some people, that'd be even better. Thank you so much for giving me this chance to be with you all.
Thank you, Captain. And can we have a standing ovation? May you rise.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So the students are all giving you a standing ovation from their end.
Thank you. Very kind. Okay, so we break from here. Thanks.
I think we can end the session. We'll
Okay,
end
ma'am. Thank you so much. Thanks.